In the heart of West Virginia, a legend was born. It wasn't a tale of heroes or mythical beasts, but of something far more unsettling. This is the story of the Mothman, a creature shrouded in mystery and fear. A harbinger of tragedy, some believe. Its very presence seemed to whisper of impending doom. The legend began not in the distant past, but in the year 1966. The small town of Point Pleasant, nestled at the confluence of the Ohio and Kanawha rivers, would become the epicenter of this chilling saga. A place where the ordinary would soon collide with the extraordinary. November 15, 1966, marked the beginning of the Mothman phenomenon. This date would forever be etched in the annals of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, as the start of a series of eerie and unsettling events. Two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Mallette, were driving late at night near the abandoned TNT area. This area, once a bustling hub during World War II, had long since fallen into disuse, becoming a ghostly remnant of its former self. It was a desolate place, dotted with derelict buildings and shrouded in an eerie silence. The fog that often rolled in from the nearby river only added to the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. As they drove through the darkness, their headlights illuminated a strange sight. The dense forest on either side of the road seemed to close in on them, amplifying their sense of isolation. A large creature, shaped like a man but with wings like a moth, stood in the shadows. Its presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying, a bizarre blend of human and insect that defied explanation. Its eyes glowed a menacing red in the darkness. These eyes seemed to pierce through the night, locking onto the car and its occupants with an almost predatory intensity. Terrified, they sped away, the image of the creature seared into their minds. The fear was palpable, a raw and visceral reaction to something that should not exist. They couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The encounter left them with a lingering sense of dread, a feeling that they had crossed paths with something otherworldly. They had stumbled upon something unexplainable, something that would soon grip their town in fear and uncertainty. The small community of Point Pleasant would never be the same again. Their encounter was just the beginning. Over the next 13 months, numerous sightings of the Mothman would be reported, each one adding to the growing legend and the pervasive sense of unease that settled over the town. The couple's story, as terrifying as it was, might have been dismissed as a prank or a hallucination. That is, until more people came forward with similar encounters. The creature, with its glowing red eyes and massive wingspan, was sighted again and again in and around the TNT area. The local newspaper, the Point Pleasant Register, published an account of the sightings on November 16, 1966. The story, headlined, "Couple See Man-Sized Bird, Creature, Something," sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. The legend of the Mothman was beginning to take flight. Section 4. A Year of Terror. The sightings continued for over a year, from November 1966 to December 1967. During this period, the small town of Point Pleasant was gripped by an unrelenting fear. Each encounter fueled the growing sense of unease in Point Pleasant. The residents were on edge, constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering if they would be the next to encounter the mysterious creature. The creature became a constant, terrifying presence, lurking in the shadows, always watching. It was as if the Mothman had become a part of the town's very fabric, an ominous figure that could appear at any moment. Some witnesses described seeing the Mothman perched on rooftops, its glowing eyes piercing the darkness. These glowing eyes became a symbol of the terror that had taken hold of the town. Others claimed it chased their cars, its huge wings beating the air with a sound like flapping bed sheets. The sound alone was enough to send shivers down the spines of those who heard it. Fear gripped the town as the sightings became more frequent, more brazen. The once peaceful community was now living in a state of constant anxiety, unsure of what the next day would bring. The Mothman was no longer a figment of the imagination. It was a terrifying reality. The legend of the Mothman had taken on a life of its own, and the people of Point Pleasant were left to wonder if they would ever find peace again. Section 5. The Silver Bridge Tragedy. December 15, 1967, marked a tragic turning point in the Mothman saga. The Silver Bridge, a suspension bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed during rush hour. 46 people lost their lives in the icy waters of the Ohio River. The tragedy sent shockwaves throughout the nation. But for the people of Point Pleasant, it was more than just a terrible accident. Many believed the Mothman was somehow connected to the disaster. Had it been a warning, a premonition of the tragedy to come? Section 6. Visions of Disaster. In the quiet town of Point Pleasant, a sense of unease began to spread. The skies were often dark and brooding, as if reflecting the ominous events that were about to unfold. Adding to the eerie connection, some witnesses claimed to have seen the Mothman in the days leading up to the bridge collapse. The creature's presence seemed to cast a shadow over the town, filling the air with a palpable sense of dread. They said it perched on the bridge's structure, its glowing eyes fixated on the traffic below. The sight of those eyes, burning like embers in the night, haunted the memories of those who saw them. Was it a silent sentinel, bearing witness to the impending doom? Or was it something more sinister, a harbinger of the tragedy that was to come? The legend of the Mothman took on a new dimension, that of a psychic entity. People began to speculate about its true nature, wondering if it was a guardian or a grim reaper. Some believed it possessed the ability to foresee tragic events, and that its presence was a harbinger of disaster. The fog that often enveloped the town seemed to mirror the uncertainty and fear that gripped the hearts of its residents. Others whispered of strange occurrences, of premonitions and visions experienced by those who had encountered the creature. These stories spread like wildfire, adding to the mystique and terror surrounding the Mothman. The line between reality and legend blurred, leaving the people of Point Pleasant to wonder what was truly happening in their midst. Section 7. An Enduring Enigma. The Silver Bridge collapse marked the end of the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, but the legend lived on, fueled by unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. Was the Mothman real, or a figment of collective fear and imagination? The mystery of the Mothman continues to fascinate and frighten to this day. Was it a harbinger of doom, a psychic entity, or simply a misidentified creature? The answers remain elusive. The legend serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved.